After months of campaigning and firing volleys at each other from afar, the two nominees will stand and speak directly to each other and the American people in the socially distanced event in Cleveland. And from the onset, it's clear what either will be focused on.
Well, I began to prepare by going over what the president has said, the multiple lies he's told. What I'd love to have is a crawler at the bottom of the screen, a fact checker, when we speak. If we really wanted to do something, I think that would make a great, great debate if everything both of us said was instantly fact checked by an agreed to group of people out there. And I'm looking forward to the debate.
The 74-year-old incumbent who has lagged national and battleground polling will work to throw his opponent off message, eager to portray Biden, who will be 78 in November, as too old for the presidency. While this baseless accusation could make it onto the debate stage.
I mean, if you look at some of those debates, I said there's no way he can continue. He can't continue. Then all of a sudden he debated crazy Bernie Sanders, and you know what? The truth is he was okay. And I said, how did he go from there with those horrible performances to where he was okay? And I always joke, but it is true. He was no Winston Churchill in debating, but he was fine. And people say he was on performance-enhancing drugs. A lot of people have said that. A lot of people have written that.
The political theatre aside, the value of debates has itself become a point of contention.
The importance of the debates really depends on who you ask. So some would say that they've diminished in importance if you look at Hillary Clinton winning 3 of her presidential debates but losing the presidency, or Joe Biden not faring well in the debates during the primary but winning the nomination. But I think it would be a hasty generalization to say that they don't matter. They matter greatly because it's one of these few moments during a course of a very long campaign when everyone can watch these two candidates on stage together and measure one against the other.
Biden is likely to hone in on the ineptitude of the response to the pandemic that has killed over 200,000 people, devastated families and the economy, while labeling the president a tax cheat after bombshell revelations in the New York Times this past weekend. Trump will tout the booming economy before COVID-19 struck, while framing his handling of the pandemic as a spectacular success.
He's a little more free flow than traditional candidates. He's certainly looser with the facts than traditional candidates. He is, what some would say straightforward, as others would say bullying more than traditional candidates. And I don't think that's changed at all from 2016. Maybe he's actually dug his heels in a little more on all of those traits. And that's a real challenge for anyone, including Vice President Biden starting Tuesday night. It's a lot. You're never going to out-mean Donald Trump. And the counter is, can you be calm and cool and collected? And it's not easy. I mean, quite frankly, it's a lot easier to portray chaos than it is calm.
I, Joseph R. Biden Jr., do solemnly swear.
Additional topics to be covered include both the nominees' records, the Supreme Court, race relations in America, and the integrity of the election. The 90-minute debate begins at 3 a.m. Wednesday, Central African Time. Sherwin Bryce-Pease, SABC News, New York.
And my colleague Sherwin Bryce-Pease joins us now for more on what to expect. So, Sherwin, the countdown is underway. A different feel to this debate, but I'm very curious to see how it's going to pan out. As you mentioned, the age of the candidates, the stakes are high. Chris Wallace is going to be moderating that debate. So it will be interesting. Joe Biden speaking about fact-checking and its importance. So what are we likely to really see? Major fireworks?
Well, I expect the two 70-plus-year-olds to piece won't be running around the debate stage, but I'll tell you, no handshake at the beginning, no post-debate spin room where you have your surrogates that are waiting to sort of say you won the debate, right, and make the case, even if there might have been a few gaffes on stage. There will be told no masks will be worn during the debate, but I imagine a Joe Biden will walk onto stage with a mask on just to make the point, given that President Trump has tried to ridicule his mask wearing. So certainly in front of his supporters at various campaign rallies. We're told between 75 and 80 people will be allowed in the room. They will be socially distanced, and everyone that will be in that room will have received a COVID-19 test before being admitted in. So COVID-19 is going to be part of the discussion on stage, but also affecting how this process unfolds. And look, I mean, the political theater, I mean, the analyst in our piece, they're talking about how it might or might not really happen. What they want, both candidates here want to do, is to avoid gaffes, making misstatements because of social media, right? The minute you say something, having a camera trained on you for all of those 90 minutes, it becomes a fodder for social media. It'll be blown up by both campaigns, particularly if you make a mistake. Biden is known to sort of misspeak from time to time, but the president himself is also known to be loose with the facts. So this will be illuminated by the campaigns immediately afterwards. So those are things that some of the candidates and their teams will try to avoid in this, just given the spectacle and the focus of some 80 million plus Americans who will be watching tonight.
I want to talk about the significance of where the debate is taking place, firstly, and of course the campaigning that's been done by both candidates. The swing states have obviously been a major focus, but who has more work to do? Is it Trump, given the fact that he's been shown to be lagging behind in the polls?
Yeah, that's a great question, right? Where is this happening and why? Ohio is, of course, a big swing state, always a conversation point in the United States, and it's where a lot of presidential campaigning begins in this very long process. Remember, this is not like a UK election where they announce that there's an election and in 6 weeks you have a new prime minister. This has been going on for 2 years plus. In fact, the argument is that once you have a president that's elected in the United States, campaigning begins immediately thereafter. So we've been at this for a very while, and swing states are so important, Sepiso, because we can talk about New York being Democratic or Texas being solidly a Republican. Where you find the crossover are those swing states that sometimes go blue or sometimes go red. Ohio is one of them. Florida is another where Joe Biden is up. Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, key states that Donald Trump has to win if he wants to repeat 2016. He is behind in those states, and in some instances by large margins. So even if he had sort of the hidden Trump support, right, that came to the fore in 2016, give them an extra 3 points, give them an extra 4 points, they still lose some of those key swing states. In addition to this, Biden is turning places like Arizona blue, the former state of the late Republican Senator John McCain. That is now leaning towards the Democratic Party and Biden. So Donald Trump has a lot of work to do here tonight. I'm sure his internal polling is reflective on that. The question is that we don't have the answer to is what will his strategy be? Is he going to attack? And how does that play with the American public, those swing voters that he needs to get onto his side if he wants to prevail on November 3rd?
As you say, Sherwin, there's a number of hot potato issues, including COVID-19, obviously the Senate race. There's also the issue of the Obamacare issue. But what about the debates itself? What will they focus on, and the topics? Do you think that these presidential candidates will be able to stick to the theme? So let's start about tonight.
The answer is no, of course not. They're not going to stick to the theme. Donald Trump's going to be on the stage, and he's going to talk about whatever he wants to talk about. And I think Joe Biden will learn from that. The topics essentially are these. Supreme Court nominee, Amy Coney Barrett, that was just named on Saturday by the president. This, of course, is a big issue, and that has implications, as you correctly point out, on the Affordable Care Act and whether it remains the law of the land, given the composition of that Supreme Court. Race relations, of course, a big topic vis-a-vis police brutality in this country, about criminal justice reform. That's a big issue. The economy, 8.4% of America's population is unemployed. That tabulates to around 14 million. That's a big number for America. The integrity of the election, something that Donald Trump has been pushing now for months. Because of coronavirus, there's been a push from states to have more absentee ballots and mail-in voting. And the president has been casting aspersions on the integrity of that process without any basis, without any evidence brought to the fore. that will certainly be discussed. COVID-19, of course, will certainly be hammered away at Joe Biden. He believes this has been a huge misstep by the president, despite what President Donald Trump's about. So he's I think I've lost connection. Am I back? The tax issue will be a huge issue, but let's listen to what some of both candidates have been saying in the build-up to this.
Racial justice begins with Joe Biden's retirement from public life.
It's falling on you to keep the peace. And God, it's a tough job under any circumstances. It's nearly impossible with a president who scapegoats mayors and fans the flame of division.
We will develop and distribute a vaccine in record time. We're going to have it very, very soon. They're very upset with the vaccine. They're very upset with the vaccine because it's happening too soon.
We still have no effective national standard for curbing the virus, which is infuriating because scientists insist that we can save 110,000. They expect close to 200,000 more lives to be lost between now and January. They insist we can save 110 by the end of the year by simply wearing masks.
These people are crazy. This is going to be a disaster. And all I'm asking is people go out to vote, and stop with this nonsense because we're going to be counting ballots for the next 2 years. And I don't want to end up in the Supreme Court.
You know, what we can't do, though, is divide ourselves into pieces. That's the only strategy this president seems to know.
It's a piece of Joe Biden a short time ago has released his 2019 tax returns. Expect him to focus on that New York Times expose that came out over the weekend and to call for the president to release his tax returns. Democrats are trying to position that argument as a threat to national security because who does the president owe money to and where and which country? Expect Joe Biden to hammer away at that tonight.
All right, so just a quick one, Sherwin. I know you work both transatlantic times. So in the US, what time will it be? And what time can South Africans watch it if they want to do that?
Prime time in the USA, 9 p.m. Tonight Eastern time. That's 6 p.m. Pacific. So if we have friends in California, that's the time they will be tuning in. And our friends in South Africa, Central African time, 3 a.m. tomorrow morning. I'll be texting you, Tsepiso.
I know you will. But definitely worth watching. We'll be talking about it later on. Thanks a lot, Sherwin Bryce-Pease, our correspondent out there in the US in New York.